Hey everyone, it's Lindey. Welcome back to my channel. So recently I received an entire pallet containing nearly 6,000 cosmetics, and I've been documenting the journey of getting them all listed and sold on eBay. So far, I've already done a video showing how we sorted through the entire pallet and prepped everything for listings. And I've also shown you guys how I plan to ship those items the cheapest ways possible. So if you've missed those videos, I will make sure to link those down in the video description below so that you can get all caught up. So in today's video, we're going to go over the entire thought process behind creating the listings on eBay, and I'll even demonstrate how I'm creating those listings. And I'm also going to get some help from my sister-in-law, Angie. You might remember her from the sorting video. She takes the best photos that I have ever seen on any eBay listing, and she's going to show you how she does it. And then after we're all done with that, we're going to show you exactly how we plan to organize all of that inventory, and I'll go over my estimated profits for the entire pallet once it's sold. So first things first, I'm going to get Angie in here, and we are going to talk strategy with getting all of these items listed on eBay. Okay, so Angie, let's talk about all of these foundations, because there's a lot of particular shades of foundations here. So what's the first thing you do when you sit down to list items like that?
So the very first step, especially when I look at something like this in bulk, I love to go ahead and scan that UPC and run comps and see what the price is going for, because price point is everything.
Right.
Especially, you know, with duplicates like this, selling in singles is sometimes going to be just as much cost to you as a shipper as it would if you were to sell in lots of 2 or 3. And so a lot of times I like to see what we can do to go ahead and maximize our profit, push things out in the least amount of time as possible. And so if we have luck selling in bulks of 2, 3, and plus, and we're keeping that weight under that pound, I always say go ahead and do it. Try to maximize your profits there. There's another thing to look at here too, is the amount that we have. So say we have an uneven number and I want to start listing in lots of 2 because we've got luck selling these. Say we can do 2 for like $12.99 plus shipping. And say I am left with 3. I have an odd number here. Typically what I'll do there is I'll go ahead and just start a comp for the 3 and test the market a bit, try to sell it. If we don't have any luck, we go ahead and just move that inventory into the lots of 2s.
Oh yes, that was something that we had discussed previously that I wanted to make sure that we mentioned in this video. It's because when we do have, you know, larger quantities of things, we might not be exactly sure what the market may look for. Maybe they would do better as singles versus multiples. So we talked about doing multiple listings with different quantities just to kind of test it out, right? And then whichever listing kind of takes off, then we just adjust the quantities as necessary.
Absolutely. And it's always something to think about is really, you can do this any way you can go about it. With this amount of quantity, what I've actually started doing is I've split it up into singles, duplicates, and triples. That puts it all out there at once, kind of test the market and see what's getting the most activity. And that kind of helps us down the road on what we need to do to move quantities over. And so, for instance, say we have, you know, about 30 of these here. I would go in and probably do about 10 singles and get those priced up. And then say I'll do about 5 lots of 2, which is another 10. And then I'll go down and I'll do 3 lots of 3, which is 9. And by doing that, we've got all that we need out there. So we could see if we have any luck selling in 2s, singles, or 3s. Again, you know, it really is based on what the consumer wants at this point. When I start to list in duplicates, I start to undershoot the price a little bit, as you do when you buy in large quantities anywhere else.
Right, you give them a little bit of enticement to be like, okay, you can buy 1 for $8 or you could buy 2 for $13.
Absolutely. And so those that are, you know, sole believers in this shade may think, well, why not go ahead and spend the extra cost now? I'm going to be saving money. A lot of consumers know when they run out of this product, they're just going to turn around and buy more, and the price can always go up.
Something else that we also want to make sure to point out is when we talk about doing the multiple listings with the different lot quantities, make sure that you won't accidentally oversell product. So just like Angie was saying, if we have 30 of those, we're not going to say that we have a 10 quantity of 3 and we have a 15 quantity of 2 and we have 30 singles. No, that runs the risk of accidentally overselling, and then you have a bunch of orders to cancel. You want to make sure that you divvy up the quantity to make sure you have an accurate depiction regarding which lots you're doing. So I wanted to make sure to point that out. There is also an eBay policy that states that you should not technically have multiple listings of the exact same item. If you're selling different quantities, that doesn't technically qualify as breaking policy. However, if you are listing more quantities than you actually have in stock, that is technically a violation of policy, because you're kind of manipulating the market. You're making people think that you have more quantity than you actually do. So if you set aside, you know, if you have 30, if you're setting aside 10 and you're doing lots of 2, and you're setting aside 12 and you're doing lots of 3, and then all of the rest are singles, you're not technically overselling, you're not breaking any policies, you're well allowed to do that.
Comps are everything. Comps and shipping are going to be your two biggest ordeals when it comes to big bulk items.
Fewest transactions with the most profit possible. And we want to move the stuff out fast because we need to make room.
Especially stuff like this. It's big and bulky. You know, you look at things like this as well. It's another thing to think about too, is when you're doing in bulk, are you able to get it to all fit in one small box?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. See, I like the way you think.
Yes.
Yeah, you also have to think about how you're going to ship the items, because if you decide to sell 4 of those, do you have a box where those are all actually going to fit?
Right.
Do you have a bubble mailer that those are going to fit and it's going to, you know, get there safely? You do have to think about how you're going to package the item to ship it before you create the lots.
Absolutely, because even if you get 4 or 5 of these suckers and, you know, you're under that 12 ounces or maybe a pound, that's great. That's great. But then you also got to think about strategizing it. You know, is it something that's going to be able to fit?
So let's talk about things like the lipsticks and the nail polish.
I like to get pretty creative, especially when it comes down to things like uneven numbers. And so if I run comps and notice that we've got Lux selling 4 or 5 of the same shade, then I'll go ahead and get that split up and do so. But if I'm noticing that these are having the best of luck selling as singles, and say I've got a lot of duplicates of uneven numbers, I'll go in and start mixing them. And the reason I do that is just because I really would hate to have these just sit on the shelf and try to sell one by one. Again, our goal is to try to push things out. I will typically take like different colors, maybe like the color scheme of like blues.
Yep,
maybe
do
some
kind
greens.
of a few different blue shades and mix those up.
Yes.
Maybe do a little bit of everything, like maybe have a few lots of mixed blues and then have some that are singles.
Again, we can really do this 20 different ways.
Exactly.
And so
I think it's hard. I think it's hard to know how exactly you're going to approach it until you actually see what the market looks like.
Absolutely. Haven't really dove into these too much.
I have to tell you, I am really excited for how your photos are going to look for those polishes.
Oh yes, thank you. I'm very excited to get down on that.
Yes, I think they're just going, those photos are just going to end up looking beautiful. I'm so excited to see what you do.
Thank you so much.
Now, the last thing I want to talk about before we demo creating the listing and doing the photos, let's talk about different packaging real quick, because I know we came across a lot of that. Like, there are some items that are literally the exact same UPC, they're the same product, but there's different packaging. So how are we handling that?
Yes, ma'am. This has been something that has been fun for Lindey and I when it came to separating. Is we notice, you know, if you look on the back here, or on the bottom here, excuse me, same UPCs, right? Exact same product. Packaging is different, however. We have been able to go in and like get a listing up and go ahead and add the quantities in there, and you get the photo up and going, and the consumer buys this product and they end up receiving this one instead. Even though it is the same exact product, the packaging looks different, which makes the consumer to possibly believe that it's just not the exact same thing.
It's not the right thing. And then that leads to not described cases.
Exactly.
And returns.
Returns.
And those aren't fun for anybody.
Yeah. No. Especially if they open them up and swipe their finger on them and it's swept back to you. You can't do anything with that product. you've lost money in the shipping, you've wasted time, and you've potentially ticked off the buyer in some way.
Right.
Some can be more understanding than others, but what we like to do is just avoid that problem at all costs, even if it's just not even something that everybody's going to taken away of being upset about. The main goal is to just avoid it and get it right the first time. And so what I do, for instance, is I go ahead and create 2 separate listings. You can actually start one listing and get it up and going, and then piggyback off of it with this listing, and all you have to do is change the photos.
Yep, you just keep everything the same.
Everything else
just
the same.
Take a new photo.
Yes. So you don't have to worry about, you know, spending too much time on a whole new listing. You just piggyback off of this and then go ahead and change the photos. That way you've got the right quantity in each, and when the buyer goes to buy it, no matter what page they're on, it is arriving as it's pictured.
As photo, yep. They're getting the exact box that they saw.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, what do you say? You want to go do some listing?
Yes, let's go do some listings and we'll get to the photos.
Awesome.
Be fun stuff.
Okay, so over here I have a stack next to me of these CND rescue keratin treatments. So I have not yet looked at price comps. I'm going to do that with you guys on my computer here in a second, but already, because I counted 37 units, I know that I'm going to want to do some lots and some singles, because again here the goal is to maximize profits and move items out as fast as possible, because even though these boxes are small, there are 37 units, which means they're going to take up a pretty good amount of space in a box or on a shelf. So I want to get them gone as fast as possible. Remember, you guys always hear me say, I'm here to turn and burn inventory. I don't want to have to store it for longer than I have to. So even though I have not yet looked up comps, I'm thinking that I'm going to do lots of 3 strictly based off of weight. So I ended up weighing these, and 2 boxes and 3 boxes are going to ship for an 8-ounce shipping label. And so because the cost of shipping is going to be the same, regardless of whether or not I'm selling 2 at one time or 3 at one time, I'm gonna go ahead and do 3 because that's gonna help me sell more even faster, and I'm going to get more profits in a single transaction. Now, because I have 37, that means that doesn't all round out perfectly. So I'm also going to have at least 1 listing be a single box of this. But we're going to do that single listing later. For right now, we're going to work on listing a lot of these keratin nail treatments. As soon as the listing gets done, I'm gonna hand these off to Angie so that she can show you how she does her amazing photos. So now, because I'm just on my MacBook, I don't have the barcode scanner hooked up here, so I'm just going to type this in. Usually whenever we create listings, we scan the barcode using a barcode scanner. You guys always ask me about my barcode scanner. I will definitely make sure to link it down in the video description. So the first thing I'm looking at is I'm looking to see what the current price comps are. What are the current active listings listed for, not what they sold for. I will look at solds, but I'm not looking at that just yet. So I'm looking to see here that current competition is selling them for, you know, $11.95 with free shipping, $13.99 with free shipping, 2 for $16.98. And I'm just kind of getting a general idea of where pricing is at the moment. Now I'm going to check and see what they're actually selling for, because again, anyone can list anything at any price point that they want. That doesn't mean that they're actually going to sell it at that price point. So the sold comps are just as important as the active comps. So we can see here that $16.98 for 2 of them did sell. One did sell for roughly $12, $14. There's one for $12.45. All right, so if we did $12 each, and I'm doing lots of 3, that's roughly $36 if we're doing free shipping, which I have talked about in a previous video that I'm thinking we're going to start charging shipping now that we're looking at another postage rate increase potentially at the end of August. If you missed that video, I will make sure to link that. We have started charging shipping on some of the listings that we're doing now, just to kind of get some feedback and see if it has any negative effect on sales, because these price increases are starting to eat into profits for sure. So if we're doing $12 per bottle times 3 in a lot, that would be $36 with free shipping. If we are going to charge shipping, I'm going to go ahead and just knock off roughly $5 for an 8-ounce label. That gives us $31. I want to entice the buyer to buy from me the 3 bottles versus the other listings. So I'd probably knock off, say, another I don't know, 10% for buying 3. So that means that I'm going to be pricing it roughly $27.90, and I really like 88. Don't ask me why. I like 27.88 is probably what I am going to go with. So I'm just going to go ahead and piggyback off of a listing that looks really good with some multiples. We are just going to piggyback off of this listing right here because I think this listing looks pretty good. I like the way that the title looks. The price point was good, so I'm just going to click on sell one like this. First things first, I need to change this because we are doing 3 bottles. I'm going to go ahead and leave everything else as is. I'm not exactly sure what this number is here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete it just in case that is a previous seller's inventory number. When you piggyback off of a sold listing, you already have the category selected for you. It will default your store category for you, but I do have a store category that is for nails. So I am just going to select that category. I do have a UPC, I just need to type it in. Okay, so now I'm not doing anything with the photos. Angie is going to take care of all of that. So I'm just going to continue down and make sure to fill in any item specifics that are necessary. I do have my custom templates all ready to go, so I'm just going to select one. In my template, I do like to paste the title back in the top. I'm honestly not exactly sure if there are searchable keywords in the description, but just in the event that there is, I do want to have my title copied in there. Condition is brand new and unused. I don't need to change that. The size, there's no expiration date, so I'm just going to change that to type, and I'm going to say that it is a daily keratin treatment, and quantity 3. Now I'm going to take free shipping out of there because we are going to be charging shipping on this. My buy it now price, I said $27.88. Now quantity. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and start with doing the most lots that I can, and then we'll just do one single. So there's 37 bottles, and if I'm doing lots of 3, that means that I can list 12 total lots of 3, and I'll still have 1 remaining for a single listing. Now we go down here to shipping. I am charging shipping, so I need to make sure that that free shipping box is unchecked. I know that 3 bottles are going to weigh 8 ounces with the packaging. And I do always do volume pricing discounts if I have multiple quantities. Like for these, I have 12 quantities, so I want people to get a discount if they want to buy even more. And now that's all that we have to do. That's how fast these listings are to create when you have barcodes and you're piggybacking off of sold listings. But I'm not ready to list it yet because we still need our photos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Save as Draft. And now I'm going to turn it over to Angie so you can see how we finish up these listings and get them live on eBay.
I always like to add a little bit of flavor in my backgrounds. This helps the photos stand out. Another thing I like to do is this awesome Vivid filter. You could see the difference with that. Brightens it up quite a bit. Yeah. A lot of times when you're getting a photo, you may notice some rough edges on the outside. Don't even worry about that because when you go to upload it in the listing, you can crop that all out and make your magic work. So a lot of times I'll try to get about 1 or 2 of each. You can also adjust the lighting as you go in there. See how that kind of brightens up or lowers it down. Something like this doesn't have a glare to it, but a lot of times you'll have that glare where you can see your reflection in there. So I'll usually go up from an angle. In this case, we could just kind of sit low. To help save some time down the road when you do singles, I always get a single, no matter how many are in the lot. That just helps save some time down the road. Another thing I like to do is try to get enough in there. I mean, they don't have to read word for word, but obviously enough to see the product that they're getting as well as the condition of the box. So something like this, we like to show the buyer that they are receiving what we are listing here and that it is in good condition.
Right, that the box is not sealed.
Yes,
so
the box
yeah,
isn't
so we like to photograph it outside of the box.
Yep.
So that they know that it is not a sealed box. You can actually see the actual photo with it.
Yes ma'am. And a lot of times when it comes to like cosmetics, for instance, a lot of those, you'll be able to see that there's no lost product in there as well. And so it always is a good thing to make sure that you're getting as much information on your listing as possible. This avoids a lot of questions with the buyer. This kind of helps give you the true to size of what's inside the package, and that there is no lost or messy product all over that. If we had a lot of 3, 2, and 1, I'll also knock that out.
Yep, already get the photos on the phone.
Yeah, yes ma'am. So I'll do a 3, a 2, and then like I mentioned before, always get your singles, because even if you don't have a listing of the single now, you could potentially have inventory show up where you are going to create a single listing. You've already got that backed on there. So I'll go ahead and go into the eBay app. There it is. So now I'm just going to show you a quick summary of how we upload those photos and how we do the cropping in that. A lot of times that original will be there. Go ahead and just kind of leave that at that.
Look at all those other pretty photos in there.
Yeah, backgrounds really do make the biggest difference. I like to get them to where they kind of fit the flavor of the color.
Yes, I like that.
Oh, thank you. So as you see here, I've got a couple different things going on, a little bit on each side, what the product looks like. We don't need to do the duplicates there, and you'll see how that standard photo disappeared. And so here, for instance, I always like to get rid of any dead space. And you'll also have a little brightness here. So if you're just not quite content with how that photo turned out, you can go in and revise a little bit more. As you can see what I'm doing, I'm adjusting brightness there.
So tell me, I tend to think that they always look darker after they're already uploaded. Like they might look bright on the phone and then in the listing they look darker. Do you find that, or is that just me being weird?
I actually do, because when I'm on the computer and I pull up actives for any kind of item I want to replenish, I'll notice that the photos I took in the past are not quite as bright as I did on here.
Because it's, for some reason when they're on the listing, they just seem darker.
Yeah, yes ma'am. And you know, that's something I always try to think about too in this, is even if it seems too bright on the phone, when you go look at it on the computer like we'll do, you're gonna notice it gets to right about this undertone here. The only time I usually go darker in brightness is usually, again, when I'm photographing items that have a mirror effect and you can see me in the background of the photo. So a lot of times just a little bit of adjustment with darkening that. It won't change too much of the product itself, but it'll cut me out of there so you don't see my fingernails or my face in the reflection. It just seems a little more professional that way. So you can kind of see how I'm going in. And again, we don't have to spend too much time on this.
Oh, those look so good,
Thank you, dear.
Angie.
Thank you. And so you'll just click done. I believe this allows you to upload up to 12 photos and hit list your item, and it's ready to roll.
That's it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Man, if we weren't just like talking on camera, we would have been done in like 90 seconds.
Right. It would have been quick.
We've been
quick
rocking and
as well,
rolling.
Right?
Okay, everyone, we have flashed forward into 2 weeks into the future. We have a lot of those cosmetics listed, and I wanted to go over how exactly we are storing all of those cosmetics so that after they sell, we can easily find them to ship them out. I also know that a lot of you are curious as to how much money I expect to make off of this entire palette once everything has sold, so I also want to talk about profits. But before I get into all of that, I want to give just a really quick thank you to Wholesale Ninjas for partnering with me yet again and sponsoring today's video. Not only is Wholesale Ninjas my favorite supplier of nearly everything that I have listed in my Beauty in Your Budget eBay store, but they were also where this entire cosmetics palette came from. The Wholesale Ninjas website is the first place that I go whenever I need new inventory for my eBay store, because I know that I'm going to be getting clean, undamaged merchandise, and nearly everything in the box is going to be sellable. Whenever I end up getting cosmetics from other companies, all of the tiny units come encased in stickers. It's difficult to see what the item is. It's really time consuming having to sit there and take all of these stickers off. And a lot of the stickers damage the products before I can even get them listed and sold. But right here, just pull it right off the shelf. Everything came just like this. No stickers to remove. And the stickers that were on there are so small, it's really not a big deal. It's just so pretty. So if you are interested in general merchandise, cosmetics, personal care, or clothing, I do have a coupon code that is Lindey25, and it gets you $25 off of anything on the Wholesale Ninjas website. But if you are interested in pallets, I do have a special July coupon code. Wholesale Ninjas has given me a very unique code just for this month that will get you $50 off of each pallet. Not just one pallet, $50 off each pallet that you would like to purchase. The code for that is LINDEYJULY, and it is valid until July 31st. I will make sure to link to some of my favorite products down in the video description below. Thank you again to Wholesale Ninjas for partnering with my YouTube channel and providing coupon codes for my viewers. Now let's get into talking about how all of this inventory is getting stored so that we can get into crunching numbers and talking profits. So I am planning to do an entire inventory and workspace tour of the entire downstairs of my house so I can show you how the entire business operates down here, kind of what the flow is. I know that you guys have been really curious to see how it all works, where everything goes, how I manage to know where everything is and know what's going on down here at all times. So make sure that you are subscribed and be looking out for that video to be coming out in the next few weeks. But for now, let's talk about how I am storing so many units of cosmetics so that I can easily find them when they sell. So the biggest thing that I want to stress when creating an inventory system that works best for you is to build an inventory system off of the items that you actually have listed. So I did not start with all of these boxes. I labeled and created these boxes based on need and need alone. When I first started, for instance, I did not have 4 different boxes dedicated to mascaras. I only had one. I had one box and it was just mascaras. And then as the inventory system grew, I started expanding those boxes because as soon as the boxes become too full, it's really hard to find things when they sell. And when I start to notice boxes getting really super full, like this one is very, very full, I'm probably going to have to start divvying items out of this box and split it into another one. So that is how my entire cosmetics inventory system has been built. Frankly, it's how my entire inventory system has been built, based off of need. You know, I didn't start knowing that I needed a box just for makeup brushes. There was just a box for beauty tools, and then I started noticing brushes taking over the box, so I split them up. So the same story with this new cosmetics palette that I just got. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to need to expand my inventory because I wasn't exactly sure the vast quantity of particular items. So for instance, I ended up making this box for highlighters and contouring liquids. So these are all of the LA Girl squeezy tube contouring face primers, highlighters, bronzers. It's the liquid squeezy tubes. Now, I did not specify that this was only LA Girl because we do still have some other items to list that I know are not the LA Girl brand. So I just kept it very, very basic. Then I do have a regular highlighters box. This has things like highlighter palettes and pressed powders. And then I have another box that's highlighter sticks. Again, these are mostly the LA Girl highlighter sticks that we've listed, but I'm not labeling them specifically LA Girl just yet because I know that we have a few other kinds that are probably going to go in this box. So when I started, I only had one highlighters box, and now I have morphed it into liquid highlighters and highlighter sticks as well. Items that had a really, really large quantity, I just left open on the shelf. So I really like to use these banker boxes because they're really inexpensive. They're also very small. I can fit 5 on a shelf, and these shelving units that I use have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves. So I can fit 25 inventory boxes on these shelves. I can store a lot of stuff because the boxes are so small. If I was using these big Sterilite bins like I used to, I mean, if you put cosmetics in there, do I have an example? I think I have an example. So this is all unlisted cosmetics. This is a new order that we're in the middle of processing. I have an entire bin just full of cosmetics. Can you tell how many flipping units are in there? If I sold something and had it stored in a bin that size, it would take me forever to locate it. But these smaller boxes, it's very easy to manage and see exactly what is in the box. And like I said, they're really super affordable. You can pick up the banker boxes in sets of 10 at Walmart for around $18, which puts them under $2 a box. and they're really super sturdy. I like that they have handles. If you want to have the lids on things for things like cosmetics, if you need to put something away, you could just slip it in the little hole. You don't even have to open it up. Although you can tell that I do have a lot of lids off of mine. It's because I kind of get tired of having to pull lids off every single time I need to find something. So the cosmetics portion of my inventory area is just right back here on these 3 shelves in the back of my basement. There are bins that do not have listed inventory in them. These are bins of brand new inventory that I have in that we have to get sorted and get ready to list. In these boxes, these are more cosmetics that we need to get listed that we've already sorted through. You can see there's some shelving units over there that have more inventory that needs to be listed. But one of the things that I try to do to keep track of listed inventory versus unlisted inventory is all of the listed inventory ends up getting put in boxes or on open shelves in this section of my basement. And then the items that are not listed, I keep in the Sterilite bins. And differentiating inventory by the container that they are in really helps keep everything straight. I have lots of open space on the shelves, so as we finish getting all of those cosmetics listed, I will just continue to build inventory boxes that suit the items that are getting put on eBay. Okay, now let's get into what I know a lot of you guys are curious about, what I estimate my total profit to be on the entire cosmetics palette once everything has sold. So now when I'm looking at an order of this size with this many units, there are a couple of different ways that I like to try to project the estimated profits that I can expect once everything is listed and sold. I get a lot of questions about what to expect profits to be when you're purchasing liquidation, and so I am planning to do an entire video talking a lot more in detail about calculating profits so that you know whether or not the pallet or the lot that you're looking to buy is cost effective. So make sure that you are looking out for that video because that is going to be coming out hopefully within the next month or so. But typically whenever I receive a pallet with this many units on it, rather than calculate the estimated profits based on the number of units that I have to sell that came off of the pallet, I tend to do a rough estimate based on the entire estimated retail value, less all of the shipping costs, seller fees, and the cost of goods. And so this is what I am estimating my total profits to be for this pallet in particular. The manifest that I had for this cosmetics pallet estimated all of the cosmetics in total to be worth a little bit more than $57,000 retail. Now, whenever you have a manifest and it has a retail value, that is the MSRP, that is the dollar amount that it would be selling for brand new on a store shelf in a retail store. I have been doing this long enough to know that that estimated retail price is not what resellers are going to be able to sell the merchandise for. So the first thing I do is I take that estimated retail value and I cut it in half, because I am expecting that the resale value of all of these items to be roughly 50% of retail. And this is not just true for cosmetics. This is a system that I will use on basically any liquidation that I get in. So $57,000 worth of retail, if I'm estimating 50% resale value, that means that I'm expecting to be able to sell everything on this pallet for roughly $28,500. From there, I subtract another 38% because that is roughly what my seller costs are when associated with first class items. That 38% makes up shipping everything at a 4-ounce weight, eBay final value fees, and things like my store subscription and shipping supplies. And I know that those selling costs are roughly 38% for first class just because I've been doing this so long, and I actually go into my sales report. You guys probably know if you watch my YouTube channel, I do monthly sales recaps, and the average selling costs of my Beauty in Your Budget eBay store is roughly 40 to 42%. Half of those items are typically priority or heavier items, and then the other half is small first class items. So I basically just split the difference and call it 38% for first class items, which all of these cosmetics are. So I take $28,500 minus 38% for those selling costs, leaving me $17,670. So now I have to take out the cost of goods after that. So that means that I take the $17,670 minus the $3,520 cost of goods delivered to leave me with a rough estimated profit of $14,150 $50 on all of these cosmetics once they have all been listed and sell. Woo, that was a lot of numbers. I hope you kept up. I also went ahead and calculated profits based on a worst case scenario. The reason why I always like to do a worst case scenario projection as well is because I want to know what the lowest projected profits would be in the event that market prices really tank and I have to be competitive in order to move inventory out. And I like to do the projected profits at 75% off of retail. So that means in this calculation, I would estimate the resale value to only be 25% of the retail cost. Now, again, I do not think that this is going to be the case. I do think that the 50% projection is a lot more likely, especially after having gotten a lot of these listed already and seeing the current market price. I actually think it's going to end up being more like 75% of retail. I'll know a little bit more once we get everything listed, but I really think that projected profits are going to be more like 20,000. But again, we are just talking worst case scenario here because I do not like to operate my business based off of the best case scenario every single time, because I do feel like you should prepare yourself for the worst so that when you get the best, it feels even better. So even the worst case scenario, if everything sold for only 25% of retail, that would mean after everything sold, it all sold for $14,250. Minus 38% in selling costs leaves me with roughly $8,835, minus the $3,520 cost of goods, still leaves me with a profit of $5,315. So that means that even the absolute worst case scenario for me, only being able to sell all of these cosmetics for 25% of retail value, still nets over $5,000. And I know you might be thinking, but that's a lot of work for only $5,000. And if all of these were individual listings, I might tend to agree with you. But you can see on the shelf behind me, I had a large quantity of a lot of different items. It has only been 2 weeks, and we have more than half of the items from the pallet already listed. So it's not crazy to think that within only 30 days after getting the pallet in and getting it all sorted, everything is online and ready for sale. So even that worst case scenario of a roughly $5,000 net profit is not bad, considering the fact that I've just added it to a really large inventory that I already have listed for sale. But again, after seeing a lot of the prices on these items, I really think that everything is going to sell for more like 75% of retail, because there's a lot of good stuff in this pallet. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and videos like it, please do remember to give it a thumbs up before you leave. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell. That way you're notified whenever I post a new video. Don't forget to check the video description, because I will put a lot of useful information in there. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you with my next video. Bye-bye.